think that I just got more gay. There's something about the way I want her tattooed.
Well, Tracy, thank you so much for joining me. You're my first actual guest on Sapphic Panic. I'm so honored to have you.
I mean, this is a big, big deal to be on Sapphic Panic. It's the inaugural episode. I mean, I know you did a precursor, but to be the guest, I hope I can live up.
No, this is it. This is the one. This is the
Okay.
launch. So I kind of want to start every episode by asking, what do you think the Sapphic audience knows you from? And I imagine that's kind of an easy answer for you given recent events, but what do you think?
Well, certainly it has changed over the years. I was the editor-in-chief of She Wired for 8 years. I helped launch that site. It was, one of the kind of big three back in the day of Sapphic sites, along with the thankfully now defunct After Ellen, after the turn
Yes.
that took, and then also Autostraddle. So I was the editor-in-chief of that. I, did public appearances at Dinah and things like that. So that was one life that I had. And then I did have a small contingent of folks who would occasionally DM and say, "Oh, I really loved your interview with Jennifer Beals or Brandy Carlisle or Ariana DeBose or whomever." So I have some people who know me from my writing, but really most people now know me from my viral holding space moment with Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. And I am really okay with that.
I would be too.
Yeah.
That was pretty epic. And it's so crazy because we have been in each other's orbits for a long time. Like I consider the two of us to be kind of this group of like elder lesbians that were,
Well, I am a much elder lesbian.
well, not that, you know what I mean. But
Yes,
like we
but
were in this sort of small-ish group of lesbians that were in like queer media before it really became a thing and before TikTok was a thing. And so like I can pretty much name those women typically on one hand or like maybe two hands. So yeah, and then we met in person, I believe, for the first time, right? Like not like months ago, just like a handful of months ago.
October. Yeah, I was in New
Yeah.
York in October. And out of the blue, I was just like, because I kept seeing you on Instagram and I was enjoying a lot of your content. And there I was in New York. I was there for a couple of reasons. I had a show to see. I
Mhm.
had drinks with a publicist friend of mine. And I was like, I'm just gonna reach out,
Yeah.
which I never do.
Mhm.
Because I'm actually a little bit of a shy person in some ways. But so I texted you and asked if you wanted to meet for coffee, and we had a really lovely coffee hang. It was fun.
Yeah, it was great. But the funny thing is like the holding space thing happened like almost right after that. Like it was not
Like a
long
month
after.
after.
Yeah. And I was like, what in the world? Like go off, Tracy. Like that was awesome.
I
Um,
mean, it was just something that happened to me. I mean, I guess I obviously was part of it, but it started to go wild, and I was like, oh no, I gotta lean into this because if I don't lean in, who knows which way it's going to go. And of course, there were people who were naysayers and, just wanted to talk trash. But by and large, I continue to get so much love from people over this moment. And there's like an acknowledgement, like you've been doing this for so long. That's what I hear.
mhm.
From folks. I heard that at the GLAAD Awards recently. I was at Evan Ross Katz's Chaos Dinner on Saturday, which was really fun. And I think it was Lucas Gage who said it. You,
Cool.
I love you. You've been doing this for so long. And, so it's really, it's been really fun.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
It's wild. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't really cross paths back then because I was in, within the sort of aforementioned After Ellen
Mhm.
situation, and I did like video blogs and I did a couple of like red carpet moments back then, which I was so not ready for. like as a 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old, that was I was not. Now I am. I would have the
Yeah.
most fun. Um,
Right. But
but
red
yeah,
carpet is hard too.
yeah, it
It's
is.
really hard because you've got to be on it. You've got to know everyone coming down the carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be like very intentional, and it takes a lot of energy to do that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you handle what you do like a pro. Like I can't
Thank you.
imagine. I feel like I would people would have to create like a drinking game of how often I blush. Or like I don't know how I would handle speaking to Cynthia, Erivo, and Ariana Grande and whoever. Oh my gosh, you've spoken to everybody. It's crazy.
I've talked to a lot of people. Sometimes I do this new thing at awards shows. Well, when I'm watching award shows at home, I I start to jot down anytime someone takes the stage who I've interviewed, I write their name down.
Hmm.
They can't just be in the audience. They have to take the stage for either as a, winning or as a presenter or performer. And it's gotten into like, I think for the Golden Globes, it was up to like 20 something people.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, so it's just a really fun reminder to me because I was a musical theater obsessed kid. I I have a book from when I was 7 years old called All About Me, and it just asks you questions like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite this? What do you want to be when you grow up? A
Mm.
famous actress. What what do you want more than anything else in the world? Or what would you hate if you couldn't have it? Not being a famous actress. Like I wanted to be an actress. And I did theater. I was an actor for a while in my early 20s. And then I just really lost like a lot of confidence around that. And I think probably coming out, being in my presentation,
Mhm.
which I don't know how, I'm just me. That's how I label myself, and I kind of change as I age, or my body might be at a different place. So I think I lost a lot of confidence though, and then that's when I steered more into writing, so
Right.
more behind the scenes. But I did a couple spots after I went viral. I did one for Mac and one for Amazon Echo,
Mhm.
and had to do like a little acting. And I felt like, oh, there's I could still tap into something. Like there's something in there. Like I
Yeah.
really, yeah, I'm really feeling it.
How does that feel?
It feels like, on one hand, it feels like a missed boat a little bit, like, ooh, maybe this is what I should have been doing the whole time,
Mhm.
because it feeds me in a way. And so there's that, but then there's also like, oh, I mean, maybe there's opportunity to explore that a little bit more, and flex that muscle in a way that I haven't in a really long time. So it
Yeah.
feels a little regretful and a little hopeful at the same time.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that about you, that you wanted to be an actress for so long. I've never known that to be who you are,
Yeah.
and we have a very similar trajectory. Like I started out wanting to be an actress. I got really sort of disheartened by the industry, by the whole Me Too of it all, which I got caught up in a bit, and I was just
Mm.
kind of like my poor little nervous system and like, me not really knowing quite who I was yet on multitude of levels. I like you went into sort of the more behind the scenes, did some writing, ultimately wound up in the social media of it all. And now it's kind of circled back to where I'm like kind of getting maybe some opportunities again. So it's like,
Yes.
I look at most of these women that we Sapphic panic over that are, you know, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and like they're still, some of them, yes, have been doing this forever, but some of them are, it's like new territory for them. It's like they've leveled up in a way. And it's like age, it's not all that, and
Yeah, it really isn't.
yeah, it's easy to
Yeah.
look at these women like a Cate Blanchett, like a Gillian Anderson,
Right.
who are in their 50s, like
Yes.
and it's easy to look at them and be like, yeah, they're at their prime. But then we kind of look at ourselves and we start comparing. But yeah, we should also look at ourselves like that. Like, no, this is just the beginning of something.
Yeah, I think, well, if anything, this viral moment really gave me hope. Like I thought for a long time that my life was going to be one thing, that I was going to continue to do the work. I was on a path before the pandemic where I thought ooh, I could really make these interviews into something. I can see a bigger future for myself. And then the pandemic happened and I kind of just gave up on that. And I felt like I lost 5 years of my life. And then suddenly I'm, into the pandemic at 52. And, you know, 52 plus 5, that's a big difference at this age. And I really started to think this is my life. But the viral moment has given me so much hope and kind of invigorated my belief that I can do more and bigger things and still, give back to the community. So it's been just the most incredible happening for me. So
That's amazing. And
yeah.
you mentioned being a musical theater. I call us musical theater lesbians. Like we are definitely
Yes,
like a group of our own.
we're a subset.
Yeah, for sure. So with Wicked, I'm curious, did you hold space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity? Like did you ship Elfie and Glinda? Were you one of those?
So, I hate to admit this. I have a Wizard of Oz poster behind me. I have been obsessed with the Wizard of Oz since the beginning of time. I used to play Wizard of Oz. Like people would play house, I would play Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
And I always wanted to be the Scarecrow. And at first, when I was really little, I was like, why is that? And then I realized it was because he was Dorothy's favorite. And I always wanted to
I love that so much. Okay.
So I will say, like when the book came out, I was like, oh, what is this? What is this? Not the Wizard of Oz, but in the land of Oz. So I was a little like wary of it. And I did get to see a touring company of Wicked probably in the mid aughts. And I missed the first part of it because I was there with a group of students and some of them were late. So I missed like the first few songs. And I remember liking it a great deal. But I guess maybe because I was chaperoning, I don't know. And it was a touring company. The seats were way back. And I was like, yeah, I like this. But it wasn't a musical where I went to time and time again. Like early in my life, of course, there was like Evita. And then say mid-aughts, Spring Awakening, Next to Normal, and then Fun Home. Like these are some of the more recent ones. But I love Stephen Schwartz. I was in a production of Godspell in high school, sang Day by Day. So I do love Stephen Schwartz. The song Meadowlark is like one of the best ever. And your pal Betty Buckley's version is maybe the greatest performance of all time.
Yeah, agreed.
And I love Pippin. So lots of Stephen Schwartz love. And so, yeah, but when I went into this, I didn't know Wicked like the back of my hand. I saw the film twice before I interviewed them, a very rough cut it wasn't very rough. It just, some of the CGI wasn't completed.
Okay.
It was in August because I interviewed Cynthia for the cover of the At 100. So we spoke over Zoom for about an hour in September after I'd seen the film the first time, and I was already obsessed. I was very obsessed with them, their ability to be so warm and just have this talent exuding from every pore. I really loved the film. And then I saw it again. It was November 6th. The election was November 5th, right?
Yes, I want to say. Okay.
Anyway, it was the day after the election. I rewatched the film. And of course, this story of bullying and someone who's othered and who, at the moment they come into their greatest power, is exiled by a corrupt leader. That
So it's a little bit timely. Yeah, for sure.
So that hit very differently. So that was then the next day I was on set, or I guess at the studio for the interview. And that was very much on my mind. And when I went in, I only had 4 minutes. I asked Ariana a question about the scene in the Ozdust ballroom. So I thought she was, I mean, both of them were incredible, but she really blew me away with her ability to just be present.
Yeah.
So she gave me a beautiful answer to that question. And then I wanted to ask Cynthia something I hadn't asked her in our hour-long interview. And I thought, well, I had just seen Toni Morrison from GLAAD posting about Defying Gravity, and I'd seen a lot of conversations about the film, and especially, theater gays being so excited for it, or, theater nerds in general being so happy for this to come out. So that's when I came up with Holding Space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity, and it is now infamous. But yeah, it was informed by the election, by just having seen the film again. Yeah, but I was not a Galinda Elfie shipper prior to the movie, but I very much am now.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. I think what was their ship name? Gelfie, I think it was.
I think it's Gelfie.
Yeah, even I think like in the 2003, I think is when it was on Broadway. I saw it probably on Broadway like 2004, 2005. But there was like fanfics, but even back then, that was one of the things that kind of like, I came out at age 13, so I knew, but at the same time, seeing women kind of explore that really kind of made me feel like, oh, this could be an option for me. I don't know why, just kind of like having that kind of community, was really helpful for me. So that was crazy, and to see it come to where it is now, it's pretty wild. But speaking of Sapphic representation in the sort of like 90s and early 2000s, and I'm just so curious, like when did you come out, first of all?
Yeah.
And second of all, like, how did you know that that was even like an option for you? Because I've been trying to think about how I would have known, like what representation did I actually see to make me be able to be like, okay, like that I could be with a woman, it was so scarce back then. So yeah, I'm curious, like what that was like for you.
Yeah, I came out, I would say 86, 87.
Wow.
I had my first, like I guess I would call her a girlfriend when I was 16. I don't know if she would call us that, but we were in love. And I mean, she had a boyfriend, and it was all very under wraps and fraught, because she wasn't ready to be with me. And I didn't tell anybody about it for, oh my gosh, probably a year was the first time I told someone that I was in love with this person. So that's a very hard secret to keep.
Right.
But 86, 87, I met someone. I was at Girl Scout camp as a counselor, and fell in love with the waterfront director, who was also closeted. But we ended up together for about, I don't know, 10 months. And I mean, that was like my first big, like really big sexual relationship where we got to really know each other. And I didn't see a lot of representation. When I was a kid, my mom's larger friend group, there was a lesbian couple in there, but they were very, very mask. And like I think one was literally a UPS driver. And even though they were kind of in the group, I do remember like the conversations about them, and like the kind of jokes and the lesbian jokes. And then I also I was dating someone before I had this big girlfriend. And that person took me to like a queer-owned bookstore. Well, we would have called it gay-owned back in the day, a gay-owned bookstore cafe in Hartford called the Reader's Feast. And I remember saying, even though we were sleeping together, I was like, I don't want to go there. I'm not queer. I'm not like them. That's not me. And that was because I couldn't reconcile the stereotypes of what I'd heard lesbians or queer people were, with how I felt about myself. So of
Mhm.
course that's some internalized homophobia, but also because, we are not a monolith, and I didn't see myself. So
Right.
um, yeah, and I don't think I saw myself really reflected for a very long time. Early lesbian movies I watched, I saw The Hunger pretty early on. I mean, that's a vampire film.
Yes.
But I, kind of had to be creative. I kind of really shipped Joe and Blair on The Facts of Life.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah. I didn't want to be a Joe, but I did want to be with a Blair.
Got it.
So, so there was that. Go Fish was big. I saw that a couple times in the theater because I had never seen just, a group of queer friends together. I think one of my favorite early films, though, was The Incredibly True Adventures of Two Girls in Love.
Hmm.
I thought it was just a really sweet love story. And there's a moment in it when I can't think of her name, Evie, Nicole Ari Parker's character, gives
Yep.
Randy a copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, which was exactly what my high school girlfriend gave me after we kissed one night. And the following week, she gave me a copy of Leaves of Grass with her high school picture and a note. And so when that movie came out, I was just, oh my God, blown away. And I saw it at the Angelica in New York. And it was the largest audience of lesbians that I had ever been a part of to
I
that
bet.
point. And that was the mid 90s.
Right.
So yeah. So I don't know how I knew I could come out. I somehow found a group of people really through the gay bars and through HIV AIDS activism. I mean, I was really around a lot of gay men for the most
Right.
part. But I would hang out with them and go to the bars. And there was a lesbian bar called Commercial Street in Hartford where I would go and
Okay.
dance to if anybody knows, Erasure and
Yes.
yeah. And Bronski B.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pet Shop Boys, things like that.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, so I feel like your early experience of, queer acceptance was rooted in more so community because there really wasn't
Yes.
anything around you to be like, oh, to see yourself reflected. Um, yeah, so being 13 for me, of course I didn't have the community piece, right? So
Yeah.
I've really been trying to go back and look at what I was seeing in movies and in television, in, who might have been out back then. And it's crazy. I watched, I'm rewatching Ally McBeal right now. Did you watch that?
I did not, but I was aware of, I know there was who was in the kiss? Was it Portia or
Portia's
no,
in it. Yep.
Lou?
Lucy Liu. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I do remember a kiss. Yeah.
There were a few, to be honest, but so yeah, first of all, very strong cast of women, which
Yes.
you really didn't see back then. And the show had its flaws. It was the 90s, right? But it was just very sort of self-deprecating in a way and just honest. And I really sort of look watching it back now as an adult because I watched it as a kid. It's kind of wild, but there's an episode, I think it's season 3, episode 2, I believe, where Ling, Lucy Liu's character,
Mhm.
comes to Allie and is like, I had a dream that we kissed.
Mhm.
And it's kind of just the two of them gay panicking the entire time, but
Ah,
also but also being like, but I don't want to be I think they literally say I don't want to be gay. I don't want to be a lesbian. What are these feelings? I can't be a lesbian. And so railing against it, they're almost sweating. They're so unapologetic about where we were back then with that. But yeah, it's just kind of and then they go on a date essentially. And the annoying part is they kind of they're like, okay, well, we both come to the conclusion we both really do need a man, but let's tease those guys standing over there and go dance. So I'm like, of course you're doing this for the male gaze.
right.
Um, uh, GAZE gaze.
Yeah, there was
Um,
so much of that.
Yeah. So, that was annoying, but then, afterwards they're still kind of like, wait, do I still kind of feel something for her? So I don't know. They end up kissing and it's actually very hot. So I remember that. I remember seeing that when I was probably 11 or 12. And apparently that really stuck with me, because apparently it did. I do remember being very drawn to many of those women on that show because they were
Yeah.
they were the alphas.
I know,
We
and they
did,
shared a bathroom, right? Did they?
yep,
So
yes, all inclusive bathroom, which was very beyond their
elevated the great Jane Krakowski.
obviously Jane Krakowski. I think I had the biggest crush on her, to be honest. She,
I just saw a clip on YouTube of her doing on Ally McBeal. I guess she did a version of The Music in the Mirror from A Chorus Line
uh-huh,
on Ally McBeal.
yeah.
Wow.
She does a lot of musical throwbacks essentially
Yeah.
because there's like a bar they all go to and they
Mhm.
all kind of like it's a lot of her doing little numbers. So it's like you
All
should
right.
probably watch it.
I should probably go back and watch it. While you were talking, I did have two kind of earlier thoughts. One was I think maybe 16. This may or may not have been, I think it was probably after I had that first girlfriend, but my mom had the hots for Christopher Reeve, who was Superman, and she wanted to go see this movie, The Bostonians. So we went together, and it turns out that it's about suffragettes, and Vanessa
Oh.
Redgrave is in it, and it's basically a lesbian love story. And I just remember my mother turning to me and saying, "What did I bring you to?" And I think is it a Merchant Ivory? It might be a Merchant Ivory film. They have, I think, some association. They did A Room with a View
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Howard's End and Morris. And then also The Color Purple. I was with my girlfriend in the theater watching Color Purple, and that kiss between Celie and Suge, which is so anodyne, really. I mean, it's not like a crazy hot kiss. People like ewed in the audience.
Wow.
So that was, an experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what else did I have? I mean, randomly, Catherine Zeta-Jones in The Haunting. Did you
Oh,
see
not
that?
Zorro.
Well, also Zorro. Anything that
I mean,
anything that
traffic,
Catherine Zeta-Jones,
all of it.
all of it. But Chicago, please, anything she did,
Yes.
entrapment, like yes. Uh, I've lost
Yeah.
my train of
Entrapment.
thought.
Entrapment indeed.
Um, but in The Haunting, and I'm not like a big horror fan, but I remember watching The Haunting when I was a kid, and she mentions, what does she say? She's like, uh, a character says like, "Oh, so you have a problem with commitment?" And she's like, "Well, my girlfriend thinks so, my boyfriend doesn't." And she's like, "Well, we could all live together, but they hate each other." And I'm like, "Okay, polyamory and bisexual queen." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that stuck with me as well. And her character's name was Theo.
Yes.
Theo. She was so hot.
I
Um,
I never saw that film, but isn't Lily Taylor in that too? And
yes.
I thought Lily played queer in that too, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, there was tension between she and
Yeah.
Theo. They kind of had it was more of like a nurturing relationship, but things they said here and there where I was like, "Oh, they're totally like I don't want to spoil the ending. They don't end up one of them
It's
dies. One of them dies. So
it's
they don't
okay.
end up together, but
Yeah.
it is kind of sapphic if you go back and watch. But yeah, so there was that. And then my ultimate queer awakening, I've said this many times, was Nicole Kidman in Moulin Rouge. And that
Yes.
and that's what made me come out to my mother because that's she was really the only one I could come out to, It's like there wasn't, yeah.
So what did you say?
I just really didn't make a thing. I just said, I think I like Nicole Kidman. And she was like, okay. She knew. She knew from the time I was like 5
Yeah.
that I was enamored with women. I would just like, early memories of watching Barbara Streisand and Hello Dolly and Audrey Hepburn and My Fair Lady, and then, Olivia Newton-John and Grease. Of course, they're all musicals, by the way. But yes. But yeah, she just would watch me just like hard eye emoji in a way that she had never seen a little girl behave when watching other women, and she was just like, okay, that could be a thing. So, and then obviously it was like the Spice Girls, and then it was whoever else. But yeah, it was Nicole Kidman. And so I said, yeah, I like her more than just sort of more than just an admiration, and she was like, okay, cool.
Was it the trapeze that did it for you?
I don't know, it was everything. It was everything. And I think it was similar to how people they kind of credit The Mummy with being like a bisexual awakening film.
Yes.
I think that was Rachel Weisz as well, by the way. She was a big one.
She's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
She is ridiculous. Yeah.
But I think films like The Mummy and Moulin Rouge, I found the men, Brendan Fraser, Ewan McGregor, to be very attractive. I thought that they were beautiful, but both times I would kind of go, okay, well, which one then? Which one do I feel a little differently about? And then the answer was very clear, very clear. I wanted nothing to do with the men in that way. And so, yeah, that was how I knew. But
well, as you keep talking, I keep thinking of other things. So I'll just say one more.
Please.
So this was very early. I was maybe 14. I was probably 14. My parents were divorced. So on Sundays, I would go hang out with my dad, and we often went to the movies. So we went to see the movie Tootsie. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
So, Tootsie is now, it's problematic. It's the man in the dress kind of stereotype and all of that. This was a very long time ago. My little 14-year-old brain didn't make any of those connections. What I did connect with, though, was there's a scene where Dorothy, Tootsie, Dustin Hoffman, is in drag, in the female drag, and is at the apartment of his co-star, played by Jessica Lange. And they've formed a friendship. Jessica Lange's her character's not in a great relationship with a man, and here's this woman who's really supporting her, and etc. But there's a point where they almost kiss, and Jessica Lange's character struggles because she is confused about why she wants that.
That's right.
And that, I remember going home and thinking about that over and over and over. I could not get it out of my head. So I didn't come to any conclusions, but that stuck with me. And of course, I loved Jessica Lange in King Kong, but just thought she was so beautiful.
Of course.
So pretty. She's so pretty. She's so pretty. So, and now I've interviewed her a couple of times. So that is,
I had a chance to meet her with Betty Buckley recently at a screening of a recent
no big deal.
No big deal. Those are the moments where I'm like, I almost have to like disassociate. I'm just like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Yeah, but that seems like an important memory.
Yeah, it's funny too, because years ago I was on a panel for, I don't even remember what it was for now, but Kimberly Pierce was also on the panel, and we both talked about that, Tootsie being kind of like a root for us. So I think for people of our age, it's not uncommon.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And now it's crazy to watch Gen Z today I still don't think we have enough Sapphic representation that feels authentic at all. We still have a long way to go. But in terms of public figures that are open and out, it's really beautiful to see. They can see themselves represented in the media now.
There's a lot of different kinds of Sapphics.
Yes.
You can go from your Tig Notaros to your Chapel Roans, right?
Yes.
Or Janelle Monáe to, I don't know, Doechii. Like there's so much. Absolutely. And that was something that I definitely didn't see a lot of, was like a kind of variety of people. Like I felt like I had to be a certain way. Like I purposefully, I mean, it was a little new wave as well, but I purposefully like buzzed the sides of my hair and had a shocking white on top and wore like, new, what was it called? New romantic, like jackets with, wayfarers. And I felt like I had to have a look so that other people would recognize who I was.
Yes.
Because without being too much in a certain way, right? It was a weird thing. I wanted people to know, but not to know. So I
Yeah.
constructed a persona that I think I'm authentically myself, but I'm still sometimes like, I don't know. I've been constructing for so long that I'm just pieces of what I thought I needed to be at that time.
Right. It's ever evolving, especially for, I would say, millennials and up. Yeah, we did feel like we had to have some sort of signal within how we presented ourselves, or else we would never connect with anybody. And we still do that. Like there's a lot of late blooming, I don't like that term, but I don't know what else to say. Like women who are realizing it into their 40s, 50s, 60s even, who I love connecting with on my social media. They're wonderful. I see a lot of, like I said, Sapphics that are maybe 30s and up that are like, well, how do I let people know? Like they still don't know. Whereas I see Gen Z and they're like, who cares? It's like, we're just going to connect. Who cares what our sexuality is? Like if we vibe, we vibe. And that's lovely. And I so wish, I'm envious, but I'm also proud.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of a lineage or a legacy that has made it so that a younger generation can feel more accepted, and I don't want to say safe to be open, because they have the gift of seeing what came before them, but we're also in this really, really dark time where
Yes,
it's dangerous again
absolutely.
be out, especially in certain places. So,
Yes. Yeah, I hear you. Safe is not quite the word, but
yeah.
seen and heard
Yes,
by
yes.
their community for sure. I mean, it's I feel old a lot of the time, but at the same time, it's a great experience to see other people feel seen in the
Yeah.
community.
No, I love it. And I really, I went to the Creating Change conference for the LGBTQ task force in January,
Yep.
and really loved connecting with so many, especially Gen Zers, like really some young folks who were really into the moment, the holding space moment. And,
Yes.
but that afforded me the opportunity to chat with so many of them and find out why that was meaningful to them, or, listen to what their concerns are, or, hopes and aspirations are. So it's been really beautiful that I get to connect in this way with this younger generation as well.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think that's a lovely place to end, but I do want to ask you just a couple more things. I would like to hear your biggest sapphic panics in terms of women or moments, anything you want to, however you want to interpret that. And also, what is it about Cate Blanchett and Carol?
Okay. Yes. Well, I guess this was a sapphic panic. I had started doing like in-person and broadcast interviews a great deal around 2018, I'd say 17, 18. And I went to the Four Seasons in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills and had a 10-minute, it wasn't on camera, but it was in the room with Margot Robbie and Saoirse Ronan for Mary Queen of Scots. And I walked in, I shook their hands. They were on a couch together. I was seated in a chair. There was a coffee table. I put my phone on record on the coffee table. And so they're sitting like up here, and the phone is like maybe probably 3 feet away because it was a low table.
Mhm.
And at one point, like, as I hadn't been doing this, so I was already like, holy shit, I'm in a room with Margot Robbie and Saoirse Ronan. Like, this is huge
Yeah.
for me. And then at one point, Margot Robbie picks up my phone and places it on her knee so that it's closer to their voices, which was like, she didn't tell me she was going to do that. She just did it. And I don't know how I kept my brain focused, because the entire time I was like, oh my God, Margot Robbie's touching my phone. Margot Robbie's touching my phone. Margot Robbie's touching my phone.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, so it was that, but it was also like, they gave such really thoughtful, insightful answers. And so it was like also the kind of intellectual crush as well. So I remember leaving that room and going to the bathroom, and I just started crying.
Oh, I love that.
It was like so overwhelming in so many ways. But yeah, I really was like, I'm never washing that phone. I'm never cleaning that phone. So that was kind of a really fun one. I'm trying to think. I have interviewed, I mean, I've interviewed Jennifer Beals now a few times. Like, she is Bet.
I can't.
I
simply cannot. Yeah.
You know, I've now worked with her on a couple of projects, so it's very strange to me. I have so much reverence for her, so I wouldn't want to talk too much about it. But I mean, this is someone I was way crushed out on. I mean, totally way crushed out on. Talk about an intellectual crush. I mean, she went to Yale. Every time Bet opens her mouth and discusses art, I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna like pass out.
That's the thing about Sapphic Panic, is like, it really is rooted in just like admiration and like intellectual, like, it really is. You know, I think people really kind of assume that when I'm posting about women, it's, you know, sort of like physical attraction, which it certainly can be, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more. So I totally feel that about Bet / Jennifer Beals.
Totally. And then I will share one more. I did interview Rachel Weisz for Disobedience. And I didn't want to be like, oh, so how was the sex scene? But I wanted to talk about it. So I had read the novel, and that sex scene doesn't exist in the novel. So since she was a producer, I asked her why she felt it was important to include this, you know, major, I'll call it a major sex scene. I mean, the first time I watched it, I had to bite my hand. I was like, what? Anyway, I asked her about including this, and she said, that scene where Esty comes, and I was like, what? And I was already dying, like half dead. And she was like, Sebastian, that's the director, you know, he didn't want to show, he wanted to keep a close-up on our mouths because he said that people will know where our fingers are.
Oh,
wow.
I'm slow clapping for you right now for like still existing in this moment.
I was still thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, I do have that audio somewhere.
Send that to me. Send that to me. Thank you.
I know. Yeah. So those are some of the big ones.
Those are good ones. I don't know if I'll ever hear any better ones than that, but like, thank you. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So as for Cate Blanchett and Carol.
Yes, let's end it with Cate Blanchett. Let's go there.
So, I mean, obviously, Cate Blanchett is one of the best at what she does. If there were any doubt, and I feel this movie deserved more attention, but if there are any doubt, Tar is a tour de force. Carol, I had been following this film for quite a while. I had read The Price of Salt whenever it was reissued because it was out of circulation for a very long time. I loved The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I had read some of the Ripley novels. So it was very much a Highsmithian, I suppose you would say. And then for years, I'd say I loved Velvet Goldmine, and when Far From Heaven came out, that was my favorite film for years. So, and then I loved I'm Not There, which also had Cate Blanchett doing a Bob Dylan drag. So I'm a huge Todd Haynes fan. So when Todd signed on, I was like, oh, this is going to be incredible. So that film, I actually wrote an op-ed about it, how it made me want to fall in love again. I had been single for several years at the time it came out. and thought like, oh, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like,
Fair.
it's hard. So I wrote an op-ed about that, about Carol. And what I kind of realized through that was it was this coalescence of romance, kind of the way that I had experienced it when I was coming out, because you couldn't be open. There was always this like parrying, like you would push it to a point and then see how they respond. And then it was always like that. It wasn't like you get on an app and you already know.
Yes.
You had to determine. I mean, sure, if you were in a bar or whatever, but mostly I didn't meet people in bars. So there was that kind of close to the vest, holding it all close to the vest. And the casting, the source material, Phyllis Naj's script, the score, Todd Haynes' framing, like that movie, that gets at the intersection of my lesbianism and my love of cinema, because I study critical film theory. So to me, it's just like a perfect culmination of everything that I love. But Cate, I remember reading reviews where someone said that her performance was like too performative, too over the top. And I thought, no, that's the subtlety of this performance, is that here she is playing a New Jersey socialite in the 50s who had relationships with women, who was herself performative because she had to be. She knew exactly what she was, as did Therese. Therese knew exactly what she wanted from the moment she met Carol. She kept saying, I don't know what I want, because she felt like that's what she had to say. But she kept moving forward with everything. She knew what she wanted. So I thought Cate's performance was just towering, because she was playing this performance of a New Jersey housewife.
Yes.
That was the performance, was playing the socialite. Who she was desired was not a performance at all. So I thought it was really, I thought it was such an interesting needle to thread, and that she did it, obviously, acting wise, like just brilliantly, but just, I mean, come on, in that coat.
I know.
Rude.
Gloves. So rude.
Well, that's that.
Ask me things. Yeah. That was a good impression.
I've been working on it.
You go viral for that.
What's your name? Carol.
See, nicely done. You could do the voice and I could do the side profile, and we would be like,
what a team.
I know.
We could do like some sort of show for very niche lesbians.
Yes, exactly. No, it's a pretty big niche, to be honest.
Yes.
I should clarify, people have said my side profile looks like Cate Blanchett, so that has been.
Well, you told me that.
Yeah.
I met you and I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't quite see it. And then we walked out to the street and you were standing next to me, and I went, oh my God. It was uncanny. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll take it. Trust me. Well, thank you so much for joy. I mean, thank you for Sapphic panicking with me. This was a joy.
Yes.
I think that I just got more gay. There's something about